Hi there, my name is Tim and I'm going to guide you through the first steps with our Expert Advisor Builder. First, let's briefly have a look at the function principle behind its technology. After this is done, I will show you in this video how to create your first Expert Advisor by yourself. The three-step process consists of the following. With our browser-based application, you create the logic of your AA. This includes every aspect, from signal generation and filtering, risk and money management, to other important features such as the trading journal. Once your logic is configured, you can download your EA as a so-called module file. A module file is simply a text file containing configuration parameters. This file needs to be moved into a dedicated input folder in your MetaTrader platform. In your MetaTrader, you then start the Expert Advisor application, which processes the module file and executes the logic configured within it. That's it. Once you're familiar with the function principle, you will see it only takes minutes to create an entire EA. Let's get started with a practical example. First things first. Let's open the Expert Advisor Builder web application. This is where everything begins for every Expert Advisor you're going to create. Finding it is super easy. Just head over to our website, click on the Expert Advisor Builder in the menu and hit Try it out. That will launch the application. And here's a tip, bookmark it for quick access for the next time. Once you have got the Expert Advisor Builder web application open, you notice some helpful notes to guide you through the first steps. What's really useful here is opening the Getting Started guide. You will find all the steps from this video written out there too. But for now, let's go back to the Expert Advisor Builder web application. Look at the top right corner. There's a Download Local Setup button. Like I mentioned in the intro, the Expert Advisor Builder works with two parts. The web application you're seeing right now and a local MetaTrader application that is a runtime environment for your exported trading module files. This local setup is what we're going to install next. Go ahead and click the Download Local Setup button. Usually the download kicks off right away. But depending on your browser, it might you get a security warning asking you to confirm. That's totally normal for executable files. Plus, Windows might throw up its own security notification when you try to run the installer. No need to worry about these things. They are just standard safety checks. If a pop-up shows up, you'll see clear instruction on how to move forward safely. If for some reason the download doesn't start automatically, just click the button again. After the download finishes, open your download folder and double-click to start the setup. As I mentioned, you'll need to bypass the Windows warning by clicking More Info and then pressing Run Anyway. Give it a moment and then the actual setup will launch. Just follow along with the setup instructions. At one point, you'll be asked where to install the Expert Advisor Builder MetaTrader application. You can then select individual instances or simply choose all MetaTrader installations on your computer. Then wrap up the setup. You can skip the tips at the end for now. We will cover those later. The setup created a folder called Fair Trading Data on your desktop. This holds configuration data for the Expert Advisor Builder MetaTrader application you just installed. Again, we will dive into this later. Now, open the MetaTrader where you just installed the Expert Advisor Builder. We need to configure some really important settings to get everything working properly. Go to the Tools menu, then Options, and then click the Expert Advisor tab. Make sure both Allow Automated Trading and Allow DLL Imports are enabled. Then hit OK. Once that is done, find the Expert Advisor entry in the Navigator window, right-click on it and select Refresh. This makes sure the Expert Advisor Builder application you just installed shows up in your MetaTrader. Now you can close and minimize your MetaTrader and switch back to the Expert Advisor Builder web application. Let's take a quick moment to talk about what a trading module actually is. A trading module is basically a self-contained trading strategy. Each module runs completely independently from others. So, for example, if you want an expert advisor that handles both long and short trades, you'll need at least 2 trading modules. This gives you a clear separation of logic and lets you build virtually unlimited complex strategies using what we call the incremental trading strategy approach. Whether your EA ends up with 1 module or 100 module, that's entirely up to your strategy. You have got 2 options. You can import an example module and modify it, or create one from scratch. In this video, you're going to learn how to do both. Go ahead and click Add New Module. You will see some additional tips pop up in the application. The app is organized into 4 sections: the Components panel, the subsettings for whatever component you have selected, and the final panel where you add and modify features. Keep in mind though, the view will change dynamically depending on which component you're working with. Generally speaking, the Component panel breaks down all the configurable aspects of your trading module into smaller, manageable pieces. After adding a new module, the first thing to do is to describe it and adjust the basic settings. As you can see here, you can configure the trading stage, a module number, and a short description. Next to every setting in the Expert Advisor Builder web application, you will find small question mark icons. When you hover over them, you will get a more or less detailed explanation of what that setting does. Please make use of this handy built-in documentation. Even though the AA Builder might seem overwhelming at first, once you get the hang of it, you will see it's actually quite simple to use. For the module number, you can enter any number. Let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4 for now. For the description, we will type in MACD long trading. Notice how both settings immediately update the descriptions on the cards. Next, let's check out the Trade Basics component. This is where we configure some really crucial aspects of the trading module. Generally, every configuration card looks the same. When it's closed, you can see the parameters and values that are set, and at the top there's a button to adjust those values. Go ahead and open the configuration menu by clicking Configure Trade Basics. What's particularly interesting right now is the operation type. By default, a newly added module has long configured as operation type. That's perfect. Again, hovering over the question mark icons gives you an explanation what each setting does. For now, we do not need to change any other parameters. Just press Save and then close the menu. A trading module needs to have entry signals defined to actually open trades. While this is pretty obvious, we still have to configure it. Let's navigate to the signal generation component. Here you will see that the Expert Advisor Builder can work with a wide range of signals. For now, we just need some simple indicators. Click Add Indicator. This immediately opens the configuration menu where you can set up the indicator. Remember, you can click the icon behind any settings to read exactly what the parameter does. A really important setting here is the Signal in Use switch. As the name suggests, this indicator is only used for signal generation when this switch is turned on. If it's disabled, it's simply ignored. This lets you quickly enable and disable signal generators without having to configure them every time. For our first indicator, we are going to use the standard deviation algorithm. This indicator is widely used to determine short-term volatility. Using it as an entry signal isn't very common, but using it to derive a good stop-loss value, that's very handy. We will use the value from this oscillator-like indicator to define the stop-loss later. For now, make sure its signal used for selector is set to forward. This means its output value can be connected or forwarded to other components like the initial stop-loss, initial take profit, or stop-loss trailing. The Expert Advisor Builder MetaTrader application uses a smart universal drawing algorithm to display indicator and oscillator values on the chart. However, this can be disabled to keep your chart visually clean from too many graphical objects. That's what the Draw in Chart switch is used for. Simply put, when this switch is enabled, the calculated value is shown either in the main chart window or in a separated window. Since we are only using the standard deviation to derive the stop loss from it, its chart line is from lower relevance for us. So, go ahead and disable the drawing of the value. As a last setting, we will configure the forward adjustment. Like I mentioned, the output of this indicator will be used for the stop loss level. However, taking the value directly is usually too tight. Here, we want to give the trade a bit of breathing room before the stop loss gets triggered. So, set it to 3.5. This means the standard deviation times 3.5 is used for the initial stop loss distance between the open price and the stop level. Finally, save and close the window. In the card on the far right, you can now see the values you just configured. Pretty handy, right? So, we have now added an indicator that will be reused, but we are still missing the actual signal generation from the MACD indicator. To add the MACD, we need a new indicator component. Go ahead and press Add New Indicator. You will see this opens a dialog that's the same as before. Here, make sure Signal in Use is enabled and Signal in Used For is set to Entry. Next, select the MACD from the drop-down list. Below the drop-down, you will also find unexpandable help sections. These type of help sections are common throughout the Expert Advisor Builder web application. As the name suggests, once you have expanded it, you will find some useful information in it. Here, for example, every selectable indicator is briefly described, followed by an example image of what the indicator looks like. Now, please note that the MACD indicator has at least two lines, the main line and the signal line. Within the EA Builder, an indicator component represents one line. So, to process both lines of the MACD indicator, we need to add two indicator components, one configured with the main line and another with the signal line. We will start here with the main line. Make sure the main line is selected. Then scroll down to the Draw in Chart parameter. Since this indicator is of interest to visually double check, we definitely want to keep this setting enabled. For the drawing slot, we will set it to 1. Remember, the standard deviation indicator doesn't use any slot, so we can start with 1 here. Each slot usually has a different line color. By selecting different slots, you can configure the indicator line however you like. Finally, save and close. You will see that the overview now lists a second indicator. However, as I mentioned, the MACD indicator consists of two lines. What is missing is the signal line. Since we already configured the MACD main line, we can simply duplicate this indicator block. Click on Configure Indicator and select Signal Line for the used line parameter. Then have it draw the line on another drawing slot with a different color. That's it. Click Save and close the dialog. Great. Now we have all the base lines configured. What is missing is to actually define when a signal is generated based on how these two MACD lines interact. Usually, signals are generated when these two lines crossing each other. To do this, we need to use the Indicator Combinations menu. While an indicator with one line alone can already produce valid signals, for example, RSI oversold or overbought, some indicators, like the MACD, thrive on the combination of both lines. So, please open the Indicator Combinations menu and add a new indicator combination block. At this point, you have probably already realized that the Select Configure principle is the same across the entire Expert Advisor Builder application. Once the menu is opened, you will find drop-downs for two indicators. In the drop-down, you can find all the indicators configured from the previous step. That said, we now want to generate signals when the MACD main line crosses the MACD signal line. For that, select both lines from the drop-downs. Next, we need to define the value relationship between these two lines. Here again, open the help section to get some additional information what each entry actually means. We need value 1 crosses value 2, which means as soon the MACD main line crosses the MACD signal line, the system is triggered to produce a signal. As usual, press Save and close the dialog. Great! We have now configured all the required indicators and indicator combinations. Next is to configure the initial stop loss. Remember the standard deviation indicator from before? That one was configured with forward for signal used for. Now it's time to actually use that forwarded value. To do so, navigate to the initial stop loss component. On the right side, you can see that the initial stop loss is currently set to used fixed pips of 200, meaning the stop loss will be replaced 200 pips below the opening price. However, we want to use a different approach. For this example, let's open the dialog and select Indicator Value instead. In the Used Indicator drop-down that appears, you will find the recently configured Standard Deviation indicator. Keep in mind that only forwarded indicators are shown here. This type of indicator value forwarding you will find in other components as well, such as stop-loss trailing or pending price calculation. Make sure the standard deviation indicator is selected. Save and close the dialog. Just to recap, instead of 200 fixed pips, the initial stop loss will now be calculated by open price minus 3.5 times the standard deviation. This is a robust approach for long-term stability. For a good trading strategy, a take profit is usually crucial. However, we will streamline it here a bit. We will simply use a risk ratio, which puts the stop loss, the risk, in relation to the take profit, the chance. This is a very common way to determine a good exit point. So, please open the initial take profit component. Open the configuration menu and ensure risk ratio is selected, and the risk ratio value is set to 1.4. As usual, save and close the dialog. So, we are done with our first trading module. The Expert Advisor Builder comes with plenty of useful examples. Some are function demonstrators, for example, showing you how to use stop-loss trailing or position splitting, while others are basically ready-to-use trading system that just need some fine-tuning. One example is called MACD short trading. As you can imagine, it's basically the same as the module we just implemented manually, except it opens short trades. Let's add it. Press Add Example Module. This opens a dialog where you can import an example module. Every example is explained in detail, accompanied by some screenshots. Check out the example selector. You will see that examples are grouped into different categories. All of these examples are free to use. Once you have selected an example, scroll down. You will find a section where all the parameters used for these examples are listed. Basically, if you would add a new empty module and simply apply all of these settings, you could recreate the examples one-to-one. And as I mentioned, here are the screenshots. To actually add the example, press Add Example Module and close the dialog. Here you can see now the newly added example. The module number is set randomly and you can change it to whatever value you like. However, keep in mind that module numbers must be unique. We will simply go ahead and give it the module number 4321 and change its description to MACD short trading. When comparing the two modules now, you can see they are almost identical. The only two differences are how the MACD mainline and MACD signal line are combined, and of course the operation type is set to short instead of long. So far we are done with configuring the trading system. The next step is to export the trading modules. Here you have two options. You can either export modules individually as text files by opening the three dots menu beside a module, or export all at once as a single zip file. For the latter, use the Export Tradings Module button at the top right corner. At the bottom right, you will see a notification that the modules were exported successfully. Please also take into account to test your EA using our extremely precise tick data package. So, for now, we don't need the web application anymore. Let's check out the download folder. You can see there are two module files from our individual exports and one zip file from our combined export. Generally, there's no need to modify these exported module files. However, feel free to check out their content. I personally would recommend WinRAR and Notepad++ to open and view the content of the module files. For now, let's remove the zip file. Since it contains the same as the individual exported module files, we want to keep our download folder clean. As I already explained in the intro, we now have to move the module files into the input folder of our Expert Advisor Builder MetaTrader application. You can find that folder by opening the Fair Trading Data folder on your desktop and navigate down the Expert Advisor Builder folder. You will see there's first a profile folder named Default and within it a subfolder called Configuration. It's very important that each profile folder contains the configuration folder. We will explain how to change the profile folder later, but for now, please move the files from the Downloads folder to the Configurations folder as shown. A very important step before going live is to test your strategy. By doing this, we can ensure the strategy tester works as intended and most importantly is profitable. To do so, open your MetaTrader again and make sure to enable the strategy tester mode under Tools Strategy Tester. This opens an additional panel within your MetaTrader. please ensure you select Expert Advisor and beside it the Expert Advisor Builder as the application to test. Furthermore, use Euro US dollar as the symbol and the last 4 weeks as start and end date and enable the visual mode. Let's test the system with M15 as time frame and a conservative spread of 8 pips. Under the export properties, you can even adjust the initial deposit and its currency. But what's far more interesting is the Inputs tab. There you can find some settings for the Expert Advisor Builder MetaTrader application. However, remember, the actual trading idea is defined by the module file. These settings here are more abstract, top-level settings for the overall system. For a detailed explanation of each setting, please refer to the user manual. For now, we just want to spotlight the folder path input parameter. Remember the default folder where you just copied the module files? Here you can see exactly that identifier. For better separation of your trading approach, you can create new folders and point them with this setting. For example, my EA1 or my EA2 and so on. However, please always keep in mind that every profile folder must have a subfolder named configuration where the actual module files need to be placed. Let's head back to the Strategy Tester, close the Properties dialog and start the test. Once it's started, check out the Show Notes tab. There you can see which modules are being loaded together with some other useful information. Great! Your first trading strategy is active. As promised, no need for coding or struggling with an AI to create buggy code you cannot even understand. Let's check out the graph. Well, this isn't perfect, but it definitely has potential. The final goal is to actually activate the Expert Advisor on a live chart to make real profits. So, starting the AI on a live chart is obviously the next and final step to your own automatic trading system. To do so, please open a new chart window. In our case, we simply use Euro US dollar. Once set up, simply drag and drop the Expert Advisor Builder onto the newly opened chart. Before the application actually starts, you can modify the same settings on the Inputs tab than we already saw in the Strategy Tester properties. Here again, you can adjust the folder path. Generally, it's recommended to use one folder for live trading and one for testing. That way, you can avoid the risk of accidentally removing module files or overwriting them. You can see here that there are a bunch of very useful other settings available. For now, and most of the time, you probably won't need them. However, feel free to check out the user manual where each input is properly described. Let's finish with OK. After a short loading period and a welcome message, you can see that the 2 module files we built and tested are registered and enabled. The use of individual module files comes with one enormously useful option. You can enable and disable parts of your trading system while it's active. Let's navigate to the profile folder from before where the module files are located. There, please open the module named Module 12345. We recommend Notepad++ as an editor, but you can use any other editor as well. Now, in the module file, take a look at the comment section at the top. There you can see in the second line it says Enabled. This line defines the trading state of the module. Remember, the same settings was also available in the Expert Advisor Builder web application. Just below the setting, you can find an explanation of what effect the different states have. Let's assume the trading module for some reason should be turned off. Then simply copy and paste the text identifier into the second line. Save the file and head back to your MetaTrader. As you can see, the trading state of the module changed instantly. This partially disabled some parts of your trading logic. By the way, from time to time you might also see this message. The Expert Advisor Builder uses its own news data broadcasting system, and here you can see that it's downloading the latest news data. However, news trading is an art in itself, and we will cover that in another video. For now, let's stop our trading system. To do so, simply close the chart and optionally clean the log window. This chapter is purely optional, however, it's very useful to know how to modify once exported trading modules. Well, let's demonstrate how it works. Please close or minimize your MetaTrader and head back to the folder with the module files. Option 1. Open module 1234 with the text editor and scroll down to the identifier ITP1 risk ratio, which is currently set to 1.4. Here, the ITP in the identifier stands for Initial Take Profit. You can now simply modify its value, for example, from 1.4 to 1.8. And that's it. The trading system's logic is now modified. This file-based approach comes with the very handy option to integrate the Expert Advisor Builder into an automated process. However, the second option is to simply use the Expert Advisor Builder web application again to perform the same changes. To do so, head back to the EA Builder web application. Let's move the window here a bit so you can better see what I'm doing next. Here I select Import Module, which opens a dialog where I can drag and drop existing module files or entire zip files. With the drop-down above the files overview, you can decide what the import should actually do. For now, we want to replace the existing ones with the same name. Let's finish with Import Module and close the dialog. Then check out the replaced module. Open the Initial Take Profit component. Look, the just modified value of 1.8 used for the risk ratio is now properly shown here as well. However, we want to increase the value even more. To do so, use the dialog as usual and set the risk ratio to 2.5. Save the setting and export the module again using its context menu. As you can see, in your download folder there is now a newer version of the module with 2.5 configured for the risk ratio. Finally, simply move this file again into the configuration folder and replace the existing module. Now you could simply restart your Expert Advisor Builder application with the modified risk value applied. So, from here on, you are now able to build expert advisors without any coding in very short periods of time. Congrats! We also want to remind you not to forget to subscribe to the product. To do so, head back to our website and open the Start menu. You can see the first 14 days are for free without the need to register or create an account. Once the evaluation period is over, hit the subscribe button and continue with the checkout process. You will be prompted to create a user account and add your first enabled MetaTrader trading account. Later you can change the account, remove it, or add more. Only accounts added to a subscription are enabled and functional with the Expert Advisor Builder. Generally, you can add up to 4 live and 2 demo accounts. Once configured, please head over to the Payments tab. As soon as you have successfully subscribed, you can log into your fair trading dashboard with the account you just created and manage your subscription. We highly recommend also reading the user manual, which generally offers a more detailed explanation of how to install and use the Expert Advisor Builder. That's it. Thanks a lot for your attention.